Inside Out 1 had a great message for kids about expressing sadness. Inside Out 2 had a great message for teens about controlling anxiety. But never before has there been a message for adults, which would be a perfect idea for a third sequel. The new emotions this time are going to be the most complex and dark yet, with the dark secret from Inside Out 2 not being an actual secret, but a secret emotion, hatred, along with pride and greed. I know you're thinking, how on earth can I follow the moral and show that even hatred, greed, and pride are valid emotions and should be expressed? But believe it or not, I did just that. So stick around to see how. Riley enters the world of adulthood on her first day at the law firm, which we did see in Inside Out 2 that she wanted to be a lawyer. That's the reason the new emotions arrived in the first place. Hatred because she hates her new coworkers and bosses as they're all douchebags. It'll also be interesting to see the complexity of these new emotions, like hatred is an evolved form of anger, a combination of anger and disgust. Just like the character is brown, a combination of red and green. Joy and greed both want the same thing for Riley, to make her happy, but with different methods of doing so, which will be interesting to see them fight over. And just like what happened in Inside Out 2, the new emotions tell the old ones that Riley is growing up and needs them in order to survive. We need a scene to show that, just like when Riley got punished by the coach for goofing off. The adult version of that, when Riley's negotiating her salary, she gets an incredibly low offer from her boss, who we can also show has a greed emotion in his brain doing the talking. Riley's greed and pride try to step up to say that's BS, but Joy stops them because she doesn't want to seem rude or needy. Anxiety also steps in and helps Joy stop them because she's too anxious and shy to speak up to her boss. They eventually win and Riley has to deal with a low salary. The new emotions are not happy about this. If that wasn't enough, after work, her boss asks her to stay overtime, but never mentions any extra pay. Once again, Joy and anxiety refuse to do anything. But this time, greed, pride, and hate have had enough and kick them out just like in Inside Out 2. Hate plans on doing something terrible to the boss, like creating fake documents, framing him for taking bribes, for performing illegal corrupt practices, sending him to prison for a crime he didn't commit, ruining his years of hard work. That's something not even a jerk would deserve. The emotions must get back to the headquarters in time to stop that, making the stakes higher than both previous Inside Outs, of just running away or joining a hockey team. Now, the whole they leave headquarters and have to find a way back has already been used twice, and would get repetitive if used again. So, a much better idea I have is... I'll get to that, but first I'm putting a pause in all the serious elements. There must also be some comedy because at the end of the day, it's still an Inside Out movie, and it has to have funny things revolving around the lives of adults. So a funny idea would be when Riley finds out she has to pay 30% of her income to the government for absolutely nothing in return. Not only that, but she must also do math to figure out how much that is as well, and anger just keeps lashing out. Another moment would be they drink coffee expecting joy to get boosted and be bigger, but instead anxiety just gets bigger. Or inside the boss's brain, one emotion would say something like, wait a minute, if we want our employees to work more, shouldn't we pay them more? Good one. The other emotions just laugh at him. Finally, one last joke I thought of is when her boss asks an annoying question like, it's taking too long, when are you going to finish this? Anger just stomps toward the control panel, yelling, I'll tell you why, because your stupid instructions were so goddamn confusing, while all the other emotions try very hard to hold him back. Exactly what happens in real life when all you want to do is yell your lungs out at someone but can't. You have to use every cell of your brain to stop yourself from doing so. In the end of the scene, Anger, while being held back, manages to press one button by reaching his finger to the control panel, and Riley says, "All right, I'll get to it," in a very slightly annoyed tone. Funny time is over. back to the story. This time, when the emotions get kicked out, I have 3 options to keep things new and original. 1, they're in the same place as usual, but there's some sort of black plague that keeps infecting the memories, islands, and everything else. That plague is the hate plague, because when you're consumed by hate, you perceive memories differently. Like when her coworkers don't carry their weight and make her do everything. The memory of her doing a favor for that friend girl at the start of Inside Out 2, whose stuff she helped pick up, turns black and brown the color of hate, because she now sees that as being taken advantage of by her friend. As she's stopped seeing favors as good things, it's also harmful to the emotions if they touch the blackness, so they have to avoid it on their journey. But eventually, some of them get touched by it, and they too become hateful versions of themselves, like a zombie bite infection that turns people into zombies. 2, the emotions, instead of staying in the head, come out into the real world. It would be awesome to see Joy actually meet Riley. I don't know how that would happen or how it would work, all I know is that would be pretty freaking cool. But feel free to elaborate this idea in the comments. 3, just like 2, but instead they get sent to a different part of the brain, a darker one. The one in charge of giving you nightmares, holding your biggest fear and your darkest intentions, creating new and different obstacles for them to face. Those are the 3 options. Comment which you prefer. And one last artistic part is that in all of these, Joy slowly starts to become smaller and smaller throughout the movie, symbolizing how joy-draining adulthood can be. Just like the quote, "Maybe you should just feel less joy when you grow up." But what is the solution to all of this, you say? Adulthood seems pretty horrible so far, with the shitty job and terrible new emotions. How the hell can hate, pride, and greed be a good thing? What possible message could you make out of this, Film Fixer? Well, buckle up because this is the best part of the video. Hate is usually given a bad reputation, but hate is a good thing at times. Without hate, nothing bad will ever change. If people didn't hate slavery, would they fight a brutal war trying to abolish it? If people didn't hate cancer and watching their family die because of it, would we be working so hard to try to develop a cure? Hate is the fuel of positive change if you use it right, instead of letting it get out of control and doing bad things because of it. Without greed, without wanting anything, would we really have anything? Like, if you didn't want any money, you would be homeless on the street. Greed is also a good thing when you use it in control. Pride? Well, just like the negotiation scene, you need to value yourself if you want others to value you, and treat you fairly, again, in moderation. So how does Riley and everyone come to this realization? That's a good question. I totally thought about that before giving the entire speech. After all, hope is lost and the emotions get trapped in a cage somehow, which I don't have the budget to show. Pretend you just saw something really cool. They realize their flaw and get enlightened on how they were just pretending a bad situation is fine when it's not. Instead of trying to change it, they channel their hate in the right direction and dig underground with their bare hands and escape the cage. Emotions are able to be different emotions from what they are because Joy did snap in Inside Out 2. They arrive at the headquarters and negotiate a deal with hate. Instead of framing the boss and sending him to prison, Riley channels her hate in a positive way. She works tirelessly hard and she starts her own law firm and puts her old one out of business because her employees were much more productive due to them being well treated and paid. She also makes sure they treat each other well and nobody has to do all the work like she did. Or instead, she climbs the corporate ladder of the same company she works for and eventually becomes the boss herself. When she does, she makes sure to treat her employees with respect and pay them well. But maybe she even climbed to a higher rank than her boss and fired him for mistreating employees. Riley used her hate to work towards a positive change. Speaking of using hatred to work towards a positive change, I'm using my hatred for greed in the movie industry to make this channel dedicated to rewriting flop movies into masterpieces. Even though Inside Out 2 was actually good, 90% of movies today aren't. If you agree with me and want to support the positive change I'm making, so one day all movie sequels will be as good as Inside Out 2. Subscribe. The more subscribers I have, the more likely movie investors will trust me to finance a movie of my own. and click on this video. It'll help the channel out.